of knowing.
All right, man. Welcome to Crrow 777 Radio. This will be a 0.5 episode. In other words, it'll be an hour or less, or in the neighborhood of an hour, and it will run for membership only. The number on this episode will be 383.5. Jason Lingren is with me, and our guest is Natalie Sprague. Natalie stood up to defend her daughter's rights to breathe air, basically, among other things. And what she did was the 1-2-3 punch, as we've covered so often. She stood up. She did the things she'd learned from Alphonse, others, Agent F, Agent J, Agent Ella, and she got almost immediate results. And when we hear about these things, we want to cover them. I maintain that if a serious number of people would have done these simple things a year ago, this would have been a different world that we're living in. Anyhow, welcome, Jason.
And good morning.
You got anything?
No, let's rock it.
All right. Welcome, Natalie.
Hi.
So basically, let's just jump right in here. There was a problem because the school was trying to prevent your daughter from breathing clean air.
Correct.
At that point, had you already been aware of what we were covering on the show?
Yes.
So where did you jump in? Was it a certain episode, or was it just knowing in general that got you started? What began your journey here?
So every time you had Alphonse on, I liked his idea in the status affidavit, declaring who you were and making it known. It didn't need a response. So in order to follow him, I went on his Telegram group, looked up documents. There's a lot of information, a lot of comments, a lot of members. So I felt a little overwhelmed at first, but then as the school kept getting stronger on their regulations about the masks, I just started feeling more empowered. You had continued to have guests on that were taking action, and that's kind of how it all happened.
Okay, so let's just be clear about going over to Alphonse's place. I've heard it from a number of people. They get there. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of documents. It can be confusing, but you're just an average individual like I am. I'm guessing you're a mom who wanted the best for her daughter. Did you get help there? Was it easy to get beyond the overwhelming and have a direction to go?
I hate to say no, but I am going to say no. It was not easy. I reached out to 2 or 3 people. I'm not the most savvy at social media, so I kind of figured out how to send people private messages. There was one person that responded, and I don't know that she necessarily had any success, but she helped me understand who I needed to give these affidavits to. So that was very helpful.
All right. Well, this is a flag for everybody in Alphonse's group and others, Rose's group. New people come along that have never been faced with this. And so everybody who's willing to answer an email and help, it's a big deal. We're about to cover a success story here for the life of a young person. So I'm just saying, if you're in these groups, I know you see a lot of messages, but you people that respond and help others find the way, it's a big deal. So what was the first document that you latched onto, Natalie?
This affidavit of status, there's 11 points on it. It's very simple. There's no laws. You're just simply declaring who you are and who your offspring is. You're declaring that, you have total control over your body and your genetic material and your property. You're claiming your property, claiming that you're not part of Commonwealth, county, a township. Very simple, very basic.
Now, I guess I should outline this. I have 3 documents. I have a mask declaration for, what's AOF stand for?
Affidavit of fact.
Okay, so there's an affidavit of fact for the school. There's a notice of liability with a fee schedule for the school. And then there's the one you just mentioned, which is your body status affidavit. Did you use all the 3 of these in conjunction at the same time, or did you use them one at a time? How did you do it?
So I used them all at the same time, but they're all 3 separate documents. So they were sent separately, but in the same email and in the same certified mail. However, they're all notarized separately.
All right. Key points here for everyone listening who wants to stand up and be an adult and protect somebody's rights. These are certified mail delivered. It's proof. And for people who have listened to past episodes, certified mail is assumed read on delivery. The other thing is you had them, did you say notarized?
Yes, they were all 3 notarized, and anybody that has a bank account can get a hold of a notary. This is free service.
All right. I want to be perfectly clear. We have 3 documents from Natalie that she used and got immediate success to get her daughter to breathe free air as a living man or woman should be able to. I'm going to open up the one that is the declination AOF for the school. And I'm just going to point out, it gives a date. It gives the matter, who is the woman, and the offspring, her child's name, city and state, and then the respondents. This is a list of all the people who got notified: superintendent of the township, HR director of the township and school, director of student services. I'm not going to go through all of these. There's, I'm guessing, maybe 25 here, something like that. But at the end of this, it goes all the way up to the county sheriff of Indiana. It goes to the attorney general of the state and the governor of the state. In other words, this is, can you imagine if, say, 100,000 people would have done this simple thing, and all these people from the lower echelons of a school board all the way up to the top of your state called governor would have been notified? What would anyone suppose the world we'd be living in now? Jason, do you have anything before I keep pushing through here?
I just want to remind everybody, don't skip the certified mail and the notarized steps.
Big deal.
People have done that, and then it's complicated things, and it could even just make it so that you're going to have to start all over again, because you need those for proof of what you're doing in case you really do get into a paperwork battle.
Yeah, if you ended up going the distance, everybody knows that an unrebutted affidavit becomes a very powerful tool. And I'm guessing these are the reasons why Natalie saw such a quick, remission, or they stood down and quit demanding that her offspring breathe her own exhaust fumes all day. The certified mail, just to cover one more time, when you certify your mail, it's proof that it was delivered. There's nobody can say, I never saw that. Nobody can say, I never read that, because certified mail is assumed read on delivery. And the other part of it, getting a notary, this is just part of the kind of corporate world we live in. Everyone wants to see a notary, and it has a big meaning in this world. So let's get down to it, Natalie. You created these 3 documents, and walk us through how you did the delivery.
First, I actually sent just a basic email. So this was an email request that I sent to her principal and all of her current teachers. So everybody that Sage, or that my daughter was like face to face with on a daily. So the request was simple. It was, I do not consent to her wearing a mask. I do not consent to these CDC guidelines. Please cease and desist. I even used that kind of language. The response was immediate and said that. And I also want to be clear that I put that I was doing it in a peaceful and respectful manner, in an honorable manner. I wasn't trying to cause any kind of problem or animosity between, the people that spend time with her during the day and myself. So the immediate response was that he was also sending it in a respectful and honorable manner. However, he could not go around the mask without a medical exemption. So I responded that I had never signed a contract with the school allowing them to medically treat her. So then later on that evening, I had already had the affidavits made up, by the way. Like, I already had it all prepared. This was just to, if this does end up going to a higher place, like a court, I wanted to make sure that I had made an effort to do this without affidavits, I guess.
Well done. Well done.
So the response I got later on that night, like at 8 or 9 p.m., it was late after school hours, was that she was able to put in a religious exemption. And I didn't respond to that because I figured what had happened is they looked into her file. She does not get vaccinations, and she has on file a religious exemption for vaccinations from like grade school. So they probably looked into it and decided they were going to offer me that. I did not respond because of your shows and your guests that you've had on, I've just learned the difference between an exemption and a status.
You're not begging permission. Basically, so everyone listening understands, she's not begging for rights she already has. Don't be throwing me cookie crumbs here, jokers. I'm telling you, we're not doing this. I have the right to not do this. And don't try to get me to beg for your little loopholes, basically.
Right, exactly.
And this comes back to your job situation too. Don't use their paperwork.
No.
Do not use their paperwork.
Right.
You are telling them because they are in the wrong. You are telling them the way it is, and that is that.
In a way, it's almost like contracting with someone, right? Well, we've got this little website you can go, but the moment you do that, let's be clear about this. So someone's in this situation, they say, oh, go to this web page that we've got for you and fill out this religious exemption we've got for you. You've already put yourself in a box if you do this. First of all, you're going to answer the questions they want you to answer. Most of what I've heard of has been very little opportunity for anyone to input anything. But again, you've got to realize they have no authority to force this on you. There is no law, which Natalie recognized. No, I'm not doing a religious exemption. And other people have basically responded within the opening email chains where they're saying, please knock this off. They have said, show me the law that gives you the authority to do what you're doing. And almost invariably, it comes back to the CDC, which is a corporation and not a legislative body. So you can see the perversion. Sorry for taking you off track, Natalie, but I think it's important for people to grasp why this is done the way it's done and why it's so effective when it's done properly. So please pick up where you were.
So during that day, the day of the email, the first day, I had decided to go ahead and go get the affidavits notarized. I had already had them prepared. I got them notarized. After I had the response of the religious exemption, I did not respond. I simply created a new email and I attached the 3 affidavits to them that were signed and notarized.
Via email, you're delivering these?
Via email. And the reason I did that is because I wanted an immediate response.
Okay.
I wanted all of her teachers to be able to access those affidavits before I had to wait for the snail mail, as people call it. So just from reading different things and listening to people, some people are saying that you can use email as opposed to notarize because of the COVID crisis or whatever. I'm not trusting that. I was still going to send it certified mail, but I was also going to send the people that were going to be in contact with her the next day the affidavits so they had access to them.
Okay, so basically, let me sum up for everybody that what she called the daily face-to-face, the principal, the teachers, that her offspring was in touch with every day, got an email of all the documents that are about to be notarized and delivered via certified mail. Is that correct?
Yes, except the documents that I attached in that email, they were already notarized.
Okay.
They were finished documents.
Was there any response to the email reach out? And in a way, you're being polite to these people. You're letting them see what you're about to do. And in some cases, people might opt not to do that. But I appreciate the honor in what you just described because you're openly showing these people, I'm not messing around. Here's what I'm about to do. So what was the response to the emails?
I got 0 response.
I bet. People are beginning to wake up.
Right. And I think that I don't know that we were expecting a response, but I was actually sort of surprised. But you know, when you read over these after you've written them and had them notarized, and then you read them like after it's done, there is no response. What exactly would they respond to? Like what? Your daughter isn't your property? You don't have control of your body? I mean, there's no response.
I'll take a stab at it. These people have to pay their bills. They're in a terrible position. They don't know what to do. They've never been faced with a thing like this. They've got all this authority coming down on them, but deep in their heart somewhere, they are not down with it. They do not want to have to do this. I would say that's probably the situation for the majority. So anyhow, emails go out, teachers and all the people that have daily contact with your offspring at the school every day. And so I'm guessing the next thing you do is you start putting stamps on envelopes.
All day on Tuesday.
Do you know how many recipients there were? And I so appreciate that you started at the, teacher school and you go all the way up to the governor. Can you imagine if thousands of people did this simple thing? So all day long, what is it, 20, maybe 25 or 30 recipients?
There was 31. And I think a cute little side note was when I went to the post office, literally, I've got everything like packaged. And so it's this huge amount of things that I'm waiting to certify. There's a line out the door anyway. And it takes a hot minute for the person at the post office to, put all the little stickers on and ring everything up. But here's what she said. She says, as she's doing each one individually, of course, she starts with the school people. And then as she gets down towards the end, she says, wow, you're getting all the big wigs. I thought that was so funny.
Well, you see, these are the side effects of doing the proper and correct things. Think of all the people. It's like, always reminds me of David Weiss. You know, Jason, everywhere that man goes, he's putting stickers. If he sends something through them, everywhere he goes, he's stating his position. And I always imagine how many minds have been touched by this. And once you touch a mind, that mind has the opportunity to say, hey, man, is there something worthwhile going on here? So I appreciate it. So basically, you go into the post office, you get everything certified, and things are mailed off. What happens next?
Another thing that I was not clear on, that I didn't get an answer on through Telegram, I just had to make an executive decision for myself, was how to send, before I go into other things, how to actually send the school board theirs, how to send the teachers theirs. What I had decided to do was send them in a package, or like a large manila envelope. So, for example, 10 of them went to the school. That covered her teachers, the principal, whatever, in a package, but they were still all individual. So because at school, when they get their mail, it's the secretary. If they're getting certified mail, I was trying to think, like, how would they do that? The mailman is not going to go to the classroom and say, you need to sign for this. So I feel like it was successful. And I feel like it's a valid way to do that when you're having to deal with a corporation like that. Whereas like the sheriff, I just addressed it to him, and that was individual. But as far as the school board grouping and the people that worked at the high school, those were group sent.
So let me take a shot at this. All you legal beagles out there, and Alphonse's, Rose's, other groups, correct me if I get this wrong, but here's my take on it. There's an organization, there's a person for that organization that gets the communication, it's certified. So they have now just received and accepted a certified letter, which means it's considered read. So even if it wasn't delivered to the correct people, which would be unfortunate because I think it's important that they do get to see it, I think you've done the deal. If anyone out there in legal beagle land knows different, or how that actually should have been done differently, please put it into the comments. And another thing, we'll get to that later. We need to have a method for people who are just coming in for the first time to try to defend rights and are completely new to this, where they can get at least the amount of help they need to get started, which sounds like it happened. It just was a bit overwhelming. So anyhow, the certified letters are all delivered now. What starts to happen?
So day one, when I sent the request by email, I told my daughter, she's privy to every single thing I'm doing. And so she's seen the email that I sent to all of her teachers. I said, if you were told to put a mask on today, please go down to the office and I will come pick you up. Okay. So this is pre-affidavit, the email day number one. No one told her to put a mask on, not one of her teachers.
There's the beauty of the email you sent right there. There is the gorgeous nature of acting in honor right there.
Right. So then day two, this was the first day of the affidavits. She said that she noticed her teachers were reading on their computer. She was nervous. She was like, Mom, I think they're getting their affidavits. They're reading it. However, nobody requested her to put a mask on. This was the week of finals, the week right before Christmas break.
Is she the only young person in that school that's unmasked?
The only one. She is in a school of 6,000 children.
Boy, what a brave daughter you have.
Oh,
I can't even imagine. Well, I was quite shy when I was in my lower schooling, and I would have hated to be singled out in that way. So I just got to say, what a brave child.
Oh, very brave young lady. So when we raise our children, they're a product of us. So I've raised her in a very awake manner. So I think that every child has the capability to be this brave with the support at home. What have we been doing? Her and I have been doing since the whole shutdown. In every grocery store, in every store we go to, someone asks, And she was nervous, very nervous, because it was a mask mandate all over the state. What did I say? A simple no, thank you. It was very easy, but it was hard because everybody else was wearing a mask. We got dirty looks, whatever. But because of that example that she had had for 18 months, I think that made the process for her easier to say no, thank you, or just move forward, to be brave, to stand up, because she had seen us doing it at home.
Let's make a little point here. How many people out there understand that Omicron is a word shuffle for the word moronic, 1-to-1? Do you understand what's happening here? And the reason I'm pointing this out is because Natalie and her daughter did what I did, went out into public. It's uneasy and you're worried. Am I going to have to fight? Was there going to be a big kerfuffle here? Sorry, I'm not wearing your mask. I've been pitched out. I know Jason has. I know Rose have been asked to leave a number of places, which isn't even legal. But the point is, when a group of people are making a run on the world at this level to deprive you of breathing fresh air, what do you suppose happens to all those people for months who have been deprived of breathing fresh air, renewing their spirit basically every second of every day? What's happening in their heads? What's happening to them? And another thing is, if people do this thing that is so ridiculous and they can't even pick up on the Omicron word grade and all the number of pokes in the eyes that are basically saying this one thing, if you are such a stupid monkey that you will do this, you're getting what you deserve. That's where they're coming from on the other side. And I disagree with it to the core of my being. But at the same time, how do I tell them that argument is not correct? When you're told to do a thing you shouldn't do and yet you still do it, how do you defend that kind of action? So, all right, I kind of took us off a little bit. So basically, the letters are getting delivered now. But before that, when they had seen the email version of letters at the school, they backed right off your daughter. So it was a minor win right up front. It's just not official. So the certified letters are delivered everywhere. What is the response to certified mail that you delivered?
So there was no response to the certified mail. I put in there, and I honestly, if I were to do this all over again, I would not put anything about 10 days to rebut. I did that because I was learning. I was getting all kinds of examples. I don't feel like there's anything to rebut in this. However, I did put the 10 days to rebut to the affidavit, an affidavit form that was actually over Christmas break. So we had 4 days in school, and then they had Christmas break, which was a total of 14 days. So by the time she went back to school, it was done. The affidavits were in and done.
So basically, I think that the question you bring up is a good one. All you folks out there in the legal community, is it a good idea to forego? Once you submit the affidavit, whether or not you say you've got this many days to rebut or not, to me comes down to clerical, right? So you said you can rebut this and nobody did. So now it's definitely an unrebutted affidavit. But if you just submitted it without that and no one rebutted, wouldn't it still be an unrebutted affidavit? So people who know better than I do, we could appreciate some guidance here. So is there any official recognition that they're laying off your daughter and they will let her renew her spirit and not breathe exhaust fumes all day?
So she's had a couple of teachers in the hallway. I'm not going to send it to 100 teachers. So I told her, if anybody asked her in the hallway as she was passing classes to put a mask on, just to say no, thank you. The first time she said, my mom has a religious exemption. She came home and told me, and I said, please call it an affidavit. It's not an exemption. And I explained to her the difference. So from that day forward, I think she's had to tell 4 teachers that she has an affidavit in. One of the positive things is she had a teacher actually come up to her, sit next to her and say, well, I've been getting some emails from your mom. And so she immediately replied, yeah, she's crazy, just kind of goofing off, just being silly, probably because she was nervous.
Right.
Then he said, well, it actually sounds like she's trying to stand up for your rights. And I think that kind of flipped the switch for her to know that it's a big joke, that everybody's thought I was crazy for the past 10 years. You know, when you wake up and you try to share things, people think you're crazy. So that's what she's grown up with. She's 16. So the last 10 years for her whole life, basically. So to hear a teacher recognize that I was actually standing up for her right, I think it kind of verified for her that what I was doing was right. Even though I'm her mom and she trusts me completely, sometimes we need validation outside of the ones that we love. Just, I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly.
Well, it sounds like the teacher gave a damn, because clearly being the only child in a school that's not masked singles you out. And I think what that teacher did was give her some support and let her know this is real, which maybe
Right.
alleviates her being the odd one out. But I've got to ask, have others now seen what you did for your daughter and gone down this road, or is your daughter still?
No.
Oh, man.
She is the only one. Not one child has came up to her and said, why are you not wearing a mask? How did you do that? How are you getting away with it? I mean, it's to the point where they're sitting in class and other children are being told to put their mask on, and she's just sitting there without a mask on. She's breathing fresh air. She's just being a normal student. And the children aren't. Here's what I would say. I would say if I was in that situation and I was that other kid, I would say, hey, I'll put a mask on when she puts a mask on. Nobody's saying that. And she says, Mom, you don't understand. She says, my generation is a generation of compliers. And she used that word. And I just can't believe it. It's very odd to me. It's very weird. Like I'm living in a different universe. Like, why don't parents want them to breathe?
Of all the things that have happened since Covidius Minimus came to us on March 11 in 2020, 3/11, the one thing that has befuddled me beyond all is that how in the hell are those parents allowing their children to breathe their exhaust? I have driven through my own town and seen children playing soccer, breathing their own exhaust fumes. And it just drives me. I want to pull over and scream, what is wrong with you people? It's beyond. But basically, we've delivered how this was done and how quickly it worked for Natalie and her daughter. And we have the 3 documents. As always, we will make them available. I'm going to give Jason a shot, and I'm going to give Natalie. Natalie, before we begin to wrap up, because if we can lay it down that concisely, it is my true hope that many others will pick up what you're laying down. Do you think we left anything out that is critical to get into this conversation?
I just want to stress the importance of our next generation and the following generation. I'm doing this because I want her to breathe. Yes, I don't want her spirit blocked. But I want my grandchildren, I want my great-grandchildren to know how to stand up for their rights. This doesn't stop with her. We're teaching. Okay, so just the simple fact that a 16-year-old is recognizing that she is in a generation of compliers, that to me is a problem. And it takes each individual to stand up, grow a pair, and get the job done. These are your children. I mean,
there it is.
Yeah, nobody has the right to, nobody's going to tell her what to do besides myself.
In a generation where manly men are nearly gone, I always harp on that television show, Last Man Standing. You know why it was named that now? In my generation, yeah, there were fights and annoying things you had to put up with, but there were men who would do manly things. And now that is all but gone from our society. Look what we're doing here. A mother is standing up to protect the family because she damn well has to. If she doesn't, it's not going to get done. And I just want to say, Natalie, I'm proud to know you and impressed as hell with your daughter. Because if I put myself in junior high or high school as singled out in some way, that would have been very difficult for me at that age. Jason, is there anything more that you'd like to get in?
Do you have any plans to contact anybody that you know of, just trying to spread this information, anybody in your area at least, trying to say, hey, don't you want to do this? Try and encourage other parents to try and get off their butts to actually give a crap about what's going on?
Right. So I did meet a group of women, and we did meet a couple weeks ago. I did share the affidavits with one of them, and she has shared them and asked if it was okay that she gives out my information. Yes, please. I'm begging for people to stand up for their rights. The problem is they have to do it themselves. So it's this show, what a blessing. I mean, Yes, put my information out there. I want to answer emails all day long. I know I say that and you're like, no, you don't, but I do.
Let's do that right now. If you have and by the way, you are a member of Crrow 777 Radio, and I urge you, the day this goes live, we'll notify you, get into comments, put the links, the emails, everything else that you want out there. But right now, if you wish, tell people how they can contact you, because again, you were in a position where you had to figure this out, and it might have been useful to get a little more help than you got. And it sounds to me like you're offering help now.
So my primary email is kidsneedoxygen@protonmail.com.
Well, I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah, that's pretty self-evident, and I don't think there's any arguing that. So I'm dead serious, Natalie. When this goes up, get yourself right into comments and put out links. And even more so, what we have found is the people who have pulled this off have provided the documents, have provided the method in which they've done it, and they've provided a lot of help. And I know what's going on in the legal groups, because some days I get 200-300 emails. And if I spend a minute on each one, that's 200-300 minutes out of my life. And so I get it, but we've got to do something with these legal groups to ensure that new people at least get the nudge and the direction that gets them started. And I think what happens is a lot of people have seen it so many times, they just, that I'm not doing this. I've already done this 50 times, but this is important. As a matter of fact, this is heroic. This is the true definition of being a hero, selflessly doing something for the benefit of another. And in this case, we're talking about children. So I'll give you the last word, Natalie. Is there anything more that you'd like to get in before we wrap this up and try to turn it around to get it out to everybody?
I just want to say to teach your children how to be brave. That's something that needs to be practiced. This was hard for me. This was hard for me to put those letters in an envelope to Governor of Indiana and Attorney General and the principal and superintendent. It's hard to take your rights. But man, once you do it and you actually claim who you are and claim what your rights are, it's easy. This was so easy. I can't tell you how easy it was. It was hard to get it organized. It was hard to be brave enough to stand up, only because the way we've been programmed in everything around us, computer, phone, TV, other people, you name it. We have been programmed. We need to deprogram and be bold, and we need to be brave.
I want to point out a maybe not so obvious side effect of what you've done. What if a year from now, they're trying to push this a little further closer to their goalpost, and they're starting to bluff their way into everyone gets a shot or you don't get any services? What I would point out is Natalie and her daughter have already declared who they are. It is all the way on record, all the way up to the governor. Do you see what I'm talking about here? And by the way, we would be so far away from where we are had endless parents done what they should have done when unacceptable things were being done to their children, and the side effects of that would have echoed out, Lord knows. Jason, anything else?
No, I think we're good, but well done, and let's keep this going.
Exactly. I'm so proud to know you, and I am so impressed with the bravery your daughter showed. It's quite a thing. Anyhow, that's probably a little bit less than an hour of episode 383.5. This will be a 0.5. This is the one where I'm going to urge people. It will run for members only, but give the documents to anybody. Don't let the way we have to do things block people who need the information who can't get it, is what I'm saying. And there it is. I'd like to wish you all a happy, healthy, and higher-minded new era. Cheers.
is the enemy of knowing.